Hey guys, happy Morphin Martes. Daniel here, coming to you with another contest entry. But before I do that, I want to give out a shout out to someone in the community, Discovery Bay Comics. Great guy, great channel. He came up with an amazing idea of basically, reaching out or having people reach out to him and, let him know when they're going to be live streaming something on their channel. So it's like a one stop shop to know what's going on for the day. And he always posts it early. I usually get up at like 6 a.m. Eastern time and it's like getting uploaded. And so it's really, really informative. If you're, don't want to hit the subscription button on some of these channels, you can just go to his page, subscribe to him, check out his video for the day, and you can be like, oh, Reggie's doing a video, or White Whale Comics is doing a video, or RB3 Comics is doing a video. So it gives you an opportunity to just get it all from one place. So I think that's just an amazing thing, a great thing for the community. So thanks for doing that. And I just wanted to give him a shout out because I meant to do it on my last video and I missed out or forgot, so I apologize. So I just thought I wanted to do that here today. So now back to the contest. The contest I'm doing a video on is for Comic Books NYC 250 subscriber contest. I think he has like 1,400 on Instagram, but on YouTube he only has about a little over 250 now. And so a couple rules for his contest. One, like the video, the contest video, excuse me. Two, be subscribed to him. And then three, he just wants to hear a story, anything to do with comic books, how you got started, what your favorite comic book character, anything. He didn't really say any, concrete details in your story. He just wants to hear something about it. So the thing is, the video is actually a bonus entry. You can just go to the contest video and just leave a comment telling him a story, and that'd be good enough. But I'm trying to get a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera, so I decided I wanted to do another video entry here, and hopefully he enjoys it. So please check out the video so you can see exactly what he's giving away. I know he's giving away like 12 slabs to 3 or 4 winners, so there's really a really big chance for you to actually win. So for my story, if you guys have watched my videos, I've always talked about my very first comic, which I still have, which is a Batman, where he's fighting Metalhead in the cemetery. And I know I had mentioned that I was always going back and forth of I wanted to get that Batman or another X-Men comic book, which I don't remember which one it was. And I was debating back and forth because I love X-Men, I love Batman, and I ended up going with Batman. But the funny thing is I actually didn't get my first X-Men. That was like in November of 92. I didn't get my first X-Men comic until May of 93, which is the comic book I'm going to show here for my story, because that's not the main part of the story. But, that's like 6 or 7 months apart when I was spending like an hour trying to decide, hour and a half trying to decide if I wanted Batman or X-Men. And then I wait, 6, 7 months to get an X-Men comic. So I ended up getting this one particular X-Men comic book. And the funny thing is, when I got the Batman comic book, it actually was when we lived in California and we were going out to Denver, Colorado to visit family and friends. And that's where I actually got my first X-Men comic at a 7-Eleven, some random 7-Eleven on our way to Colorado or till Denver. And, my parents ended up buying it for me. And the funny thing is, I was actually thinking of buying the Ren and Stimpy because Ren and Stimpy was really big then. But I ended up getting this comic book because, again, I love X-Men. So let me show it really quick, and then I'm going to get into the story. I know, this story was a little bit long, explaining it. But this is X-Men 20, and, it's saying who's back. And as you can tell, I don't know if you guys can tell, there's a big bend right in the middle. It actually has some spine ticks here and there. And that's the purpose of my story for this particular comic, because I was so excited to finally get an X-Men comic book And honestly, I would take this everywhere with me when I was with friends, when we were visiting friends and family in Denver. I was taking this everywhere. It was in my hand all the time. I'd go play basketball and I'd be holding it, shooting a basket one-handed or whatnot, or, running around and being just silly. And finally, one day, my parents are like, Daniel, you need to stop carrying that comic book. You're going to mess it up. Please just, put it somewhere and just go play with your friends. And so I decided, fine, that's fine. And what I did was, silly me, 11-year-old, I decided just to leave it on the couch, right? And so I go out and play and stuff like that. And finally, it was getting close to dinner time. And I end up coming back and I'm like, where the heck's my comic book? My dad's laying on the couch, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, he must have moved it. So I'm looking on the table trying to find the comic book and I can't find it. And I'm like panicking. I'm like, Mom, telling my brothers, hey, where's my X-Men comic book? It was right here. Dad's napping. Maybe he moved it somewhere. Everyone thought, right? And so my dad was so tired. He had been driving all night and everything. But as a kid, I was more worried about this comic. So I actually ended up waking him up and saying, Dad, where's my comic? He's like, what comic book? So he sits up. Sure enough, he fell asleep on my comic book. All right? So that's where I got this big old crease here. And as you know, if you've seen my videos, I wear a lot of sports hats. It's because I actually played sports. I played soccer. I played basketball. I played football. I played even volleyball in high school. But obviously, I was only 11 years old. And, I played football, tackle football without pads, everything. Never cried. Broke my collarbone. Broke my nose. Never cried, right? The funny thing is, when I saw this comic book all bent up underneath my dad, I actually started crying. And that's why I wanted to share this story. I never cried when I broke a bone, but I was crying because my first X-Men comic book was bent up because my dad was so tired. And I just thought, as a grown man now, I just think it's hilarious and silly, to cry over a comic book. But, when you love something like we do in this community, you're going to be passionate about stuff. And I know I was just starting to collect. Again, this was probably my 5th or 6th comic book in general, but it was my first X-Men comic. And it's just some random comic, but I actually cried, man. I actually cried for this comic compared to breaking a collarbone or a nose. I didn't even cry. Maybe shed a little tear or something, but I literally was crying. And my parents were like, it's only a comic. And I'm like, yeah, but my dad slept on it. He didn't even care. He messed it up, yada, yada, yada. But anyway, just thought I would get a little personal. Hopefully you think it's funny or sad, however you feel my pain as a little 11-year-old boy. But anyway, that's the story I wanted to share to you, buddy. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully you have a good rest of the day. Thanks you guys for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe and please comment. Have a good day and go Rapids.